Hello and welcome to the 31st episode of Dystopedia. I'm your host Matt Davidson, and once again I'm joined by my colleague Andrew Hodgson.
How are you, Matt?
Yeah, I'm pretty well, Andrew. How are you going today?
I'm pretty good.
Yeah, what have you been up to this week?
Just work, mate. It's been one of those where I've had a few work events and I've had to do some mingling and
Oh, I love doing your small talk stuff, don't
oh
you?
god, I had to join the crowd, do a bit of mingling, and then I had to
Bit of networking, you know?
yeah. I had to do, and then I had
So
to
you worked the room, did you?
attempted to
Yeah.
And every so often I have to go and meet a few people, and then I'd have to go out for air. I'm like, fucking hell, like it's just...
You need to decompress and just
Yeah.
You clear the mind.
Oh yeah. So I've had a couple of nights of that this week, and they say that everything comes in threes, sort of. It's three big things this week at work that have just sort of taken everything from me, So I don't know how effective I'm going to be in this one, but I might be very cynical, but let's see how we go.
Yeah.
What about you? Anyone humble bragging this week? Or?
No, unfortunately.
It was a great story last week.
Oh, I love that story. Yeah, very inspiring. Got me fired up. Making sure that if I do go for a run, I think of those safety tips that he told us.
Well, the point I believe he's trying to make, and obviously, I'm sure the listeners will know what we're thinking about, what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Is probably not to overexert yourself and keep your eyes on the prize, the long game.
Yeah, exactly. These little things, you think these little 1%ers here and there, they make a big distance in the long run, no pun intended. Yeah, no, that was after. Hopefully, he gets another speaking gig next monthly meeting. So I anticipate whatever he comes up with next. So it
was very inspiring.
Yeah, hopefully he might move on to some weights or something like that. Because I'm sure he's got a 6-pack or something like that. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. We need to flex that. So
need to plug that shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't actually done much as well this week. Just working and stuff. But I decided to get into after I finished the Oliver Stone documentary. I've been going back into American history again, but more back to the American Revolutionary War. And I was watching a documentary on the Louisiana Exchange. Also, the Louisiana Purchase. My apologies. And have you ever heard of the Louisiana Purchase? When it got done?
Do they purchase from Spain? Am I thinking of something different?
Well, it is interesting to kind of that because I don't really know much about the history of it. But basically, there's massive land territory that originally the French controlled back in 1600s all the way up until 17 something.
Oh, what happened? Did they a bit of a fight and they?
Yeah, well, they gave it to the Spanish, and then the Spanish controlled it.
Did the Spanish threaten them, or?
I think what it was, they were worried about, because France and England hate each other with a passion, obviously, and it's all throughout history, as you would know. And they gave it to them as a buffer zone, as a kind of in between, because they didn't want the British to get control of the whole of the American territory. But then what ended up happening is that when Napoleon got in power, they decided to swap a territory in Italy that France controlled, and then gave Louisiana back to France. And during that, then obviously the Americans there, and then the Napoleon was about to. In Haiti there was an uprising in Haiti where the French controlled the French colony there, and they controlled all the sugar fineries and stuff. And there was a massive uprising there, and all the slaves took over control, and it came like France's Vietnam, where they couldn't. All the guerrilla war tactics were happening and stuff. And then in the meantime, because they controlled the ports there in where New Orleans is, where the Mississippi River was, the Americans couldn't get their trade through properly. So because Napoleon then was wanting to fight wars in Europe against England, he then sold it to the Americans to finance those wars going on Europeans.
So he's playing 4D chess, was he?
Yeah, well, the funny thing, the British were playing 4D chess because they ended up, even though they hated the Americans because of what happened with the American Revolutionary War, they end up financing the Americans buying it, because then it meant that the French were out of American territory and they couldn't conquer it anymore. So they were playing a bit of 4D chess there because they'd rather just get rid of the France out of that territory. So, but yeah, it was interesting to see how that deal ended up costing $15 million or something like that back in those days. I don't know whether it'd be now a couple billion, but what the American the landscape there it is now, it's unbelievable. But just learning about how these little factors, because of Napoleon wanted control of this thing, and then because of Haiti went bad, they couldn't control this section. That ended up being that America ended up buying that area there, and then the rest is history. No, it was just fascinating. Just reading
this concept of selling a state, it's just
in the land size. It covered the territory covered about 16 US states in today's thing, and a bit of Canada as well. So it's just a huge landmass.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, Trump's recently he wanted to buy Denmark, didn't he?
Yeah,
Greenland.
Yeah. And then incorporate Canada into the 51st state.
Yeah. So
yeah. No, because I never knew much about the history there, because I never realised that how much Spain and France had an input in the Americas like that. So it's just interesting, and how those little like sliding door moments happened by that one thing happening that led to them buying it. Yeah, it's crazy. And obviously that down the track, they end up buying Alaska as well from the Russians.
Yeah. That was odd. Yeah, we've touched on that before, have we?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, that's what I've been done this week. But on to this week's episode. Well, last week we went into the world of Ants, the 1998 film, and this week
segues done.
No, I couldn't. It's dead. It's a dead horse now. You can't keep flogging it. You know, it's reached its limit. It's time to put it out of its misery.
Yeah.
Time to put old Farlap down. You know. And this week's episode, we're going into a dystopian short story by Kurt Vonnegut called Harrison Bergeron. So.
Bergeron or Bergeron?
Bergeron or Bergeron?
I think I listened to the audio on YouTube I was reading, and he says, I think he says Bergeron.
Bergeron, but I've heard Bergeron from other people.
Well,
so.
we got to agree on one. I'm happy to go with Bergeron.
Yeah, go Bergeron.
Let's go Bergeron.
Lock it in, Eddie.
Yeah.
But yeah. Have you ever heard of Kurt Vonnegut or delved into any of his stuff before this episode?
So, I have heard of Kurt Vonnegut or Kurt Daddy. Slaughterhouse-Five. I haven't read it, but I always hear about that book. You've told me about the book. I've had a few other people tell me about it as well. So it is one that's on the list to read. I know he's present at the bombing of Dresden. I think he was in the Battle of the Bulge. I know a little bit about him, but not a huge amount. What about you? You've read Slaughterhouse-Five, obviously? Yeah,
well, interesting enough, I first came across Kurt Vonnegut in high school. I remember it so well because it was kind of the first English literature novel I read where I actually found it like quite intriguing and interesting because, we've done, Shakespeare and a couple of other ones where it's just like the assigned text, where this one was very intriguing and different, where it incorporated World War II references, then time traveling and aliens, but then also the current day modern America when he wrote the book in the 60s as well. So I found it was one of the first ones I've read. I found it really interesting. And the concept that the book raised and how to with time travel and how view life has already happened. So then you just live moment to moment as opposed to like there's no free will involved. Like he goes into those territories in the book. So, and actually that's the first time I ever heard of the Dresden bombing was through this book as well because I'd never, you hear back obviously a little bit about World War II, but sometimes you don't know all the specific details and stuff. And then learning about Dresden and reading about the fire bombing and the fact that, when he's one of the because normally when you hear about Dresden, it's all about from the German perspective, obviously, because there were all the civilians there, but there were actually POWs that were there, and he's one of the ones that was there, witnessed it, and survived
Collateral damage to Obama Harris, weren't they?
Oh, yeah. He loved it, didn't he? Yeah.
They served the wind, and now they are going to reap the whirlwind.
I'm sure that there must have been some munition factory there. Had to be, Yeah.
Had to be.
Had to be cleared out. I mean, the war wasn't already over by then, was it? Yeah. No, because when you read about Dresden as well, like just it's kind of like hard to, because one of the most famous bombings is always going to be Nagasaki and Hiroshima's, but when you hear about the description of the firestorm, it sounds like something out of like the apocalypse or something, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, we explored that actually when we did our war game episode.
Yeah.
When there are a lot of influence in the actual the firestorm and everything, and I guess the science behind it, how all the kind of, I guess it's something like all essentially the tornadoes just all meet up, and then the oxygen's kind of fueling the fire, and it's just like it's hellish.
It is. It's very freaky. So. It's one of those books. It always stuck with me. I always remembered it, and I was always intrigued to. I still remembered like bits and pieces of it, but I read it again recently about 5 or 6 years ago, and I remember thinking, oh, this is why it stuck with me. There's little parts in here and there. I wouldn't say it's in the same territory as like a 1984 or Brave New World or something, but it's still very good and very. I guess the reason why it became so popular is because it came out in the heights of the Vietnam War. It's kind of an anti-war book as well. So, and that he touches into those kind of territories throughout his literature career as well. So, and being a bit of a pacifist and a bit humanist kind of person, right? So. But before we get into today's episode, we'll go into a bit of his backstory about the writer himself, Kurt Vonnegut. So he was born in Indianapolis, Indiana, to a German-American family in 1922. His old man was an architect, and his mother I think was a homemade person, and apparently she struggled with a lot of mental health issues and things like that. I believe too because both his parents were from Germany, and they migrated to America just before World War One. He never learned how to speak German because it was all kind of like, the Huns and, the propaganda against the Germans. Target. So they decided just to like forget it and he never learned any of it. So he never had that German heritage connection, I guess, to his roots and stuff. And what is to be believed about Harrison Bergeron, that it could have been inspired by his high school experiences. So, we'll go into it later about the themes and what we think comes out of it. But yeah, some of his apparently high school things could have played a role in it as well. So, but yeah, he went to college at Cornell University and he studied chemistry, and he ended up leaving early because of World War II broke out and he joined the army. So yeah, sorry, actually before he didn't just join the army. He was about to be drafted, so then he decided to enlist into the army. So that's why he reported to Fort Bragg, which is in North Carolina, for basic training. He later, so that's when he received instructions in mechanical engineering and things like that. And then he was going to be part of the D-Day landings invasion, but then he ended up being the infantry battalion at the camp Atterbury, which is south of Indianapolis, where he trained as a scout. And what was interesting, because he was so close, the base was so close to his home, he used to sneak home all the time and sleep in his own bed, then go back to the base in the morning. Go get the family car for the weekends and stuff. But this is where a pivotal moment happens in his life during this training process. He came home in 1944, and on Mother's Day, actually, to say hello to his mum, and he found that she committed suicide. So he discovered her. So she overdosed from sleeping pills or something like that. So it's pretty sad pivotal moment in his life, you can imagine.
Oh yeah, that trauma would have had an effect on his writing, no doubt. Yeah. Yeah,
exactly. And then, like, literally within a couple of months after that happening, he's shipped off to Europe to fight on the battlegrounds there as an intelligence scout with the 106th Infantry Division. So, and this is the point too where he fought at the famous Battle of the Bulge, and which was obviously a very pivotal battle of World War II, kind of like Germany's last hurrah, wasn't it? The last offensive battle.
Yeah, well, and it's a lot of people say it's a pivotal moment actually for the Cold War later as well, because they sort of try and push the Allies back, and that one final push that pushed them back. Had they kind of not done that and they gone through, then possibly it would have changed events. Like, it would have stopped the Soviets getting there first, and then like that sliding doors moment of what happened with the rest of history with the wall going up and everything. It's interesting when you look at it. They also talk about Operation Market Garden the same as well. That similar thing where they should have just in hindsight, you're like, yeah, you should have just laid down arms there, but you're not thinking that, are you, in the heat of battle?
Oh, of course, no, yeah. And sometimes we think like, it was only 3 months before the Germany surrender. Why do they do this? But in the moment, they're not thinking that Germany's about to surrender, are they? They're just going about their
they're radicalized as well. So
yeah,
it's just,
exactly. Yeah.
There's a quote that comes to mind that I read in a book. It's quite simple, but it said what in history what seemed inevitable was far from obvious at the time. I was like, that's such a powerful statement. You're like, we've got the benefit of hindsight. We can look back. Like, how could they not see that coming?
Yeah, everyone's a genius in hindsight.
Yeah, but when you're in the moment, you can't see the wood for the trees. You just
you're reacting, aren't you?
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so after he got captured, he was taken on a boxcar train into Dresden, right? And apparently on the way there, that train got attacked by a British Air Force division. They bombed the train, but he ended up surviving that. About 150 people got killed on that train. So seems like he's got a cat with 9 lives, doesn't he?
A bit of a charmed life,
yeah, unbelievable. But you can imagine the trauma from that. So then, this is when he was sent to Dresden, and he lived and worked in the slaughterhouse in the factory. So hence, whether they thing. So he was making malt syrup for pregnant women, apparently. So he recalls that he remembers sirens going off because, obviously other cities were being bombed left, right, and center. But he kind of also says that they weren't expecting Dresden to be bombed. There was no preparation for it. Nothing was going to, they never thought in a million years that Dresden would ever be a target. Because, Dresden was a city basically of, there's no war industries at all, it's normal manufacturing, like clothing and, cigarettes and hospitals and factories and that kind of thing. So
there must have been a general there or something, obviously.
Yeah, it had to be. Yeah,
it was all collateral damage. If I know Bomber Harris, like I do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But where he was kind of, when the bombing commenced on the 13th of February, he was lucky because he was in the slaughterhouse and he was stationed underneath the slaughterhouse as well, so in a bunker kind of thing. So he avoided all the collateral damage and all the destruction and stuff. But obviously once he emerged and came out of it was actually a meat locker, sorry. So he came out of that and he just walked up and saw the absolute devastation of the city. He said it was like the apocalypse had happened or something,
And I wonder, that's just made me think, that Treehouse Horror episode of The Simpsons, when he's looking at bomb shelters and he walks in, and the bomb happens to drop, and then Homer walks out.
Yeah, it is.
It's like, I wonder if that's parodying that.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it seems like it is. Yeah.
Jeez, what's with all that death? My God, everyone's gone. Little Bart, little Lisa, little Marge, and the rest.
And yeah, literally after the bombings happened, then him and a couple of other American prisoners were put to work immediately after the bombing. Excavating bodies and rubble and stuff like that. He kind of described it as a terribly elaborate Easter egg hunt. Yeah, he's got a bit of dark humor about him in that way.
Yeah, I hear that is quite noticeable in his writing.
Very
noticeable in this story we're about to go through. As well.
Exactly, very a bit whimsical, but then also very very dark as
well.
Oh,
it turns at moments. Yeah.
Suddenly, yeah. But eventually, he ended up getting liberated via General Patton's Third Army when they captured Lisenberg, which meant that the German guards abandoned their stations, and then they got freed. So he was given a Purple Heart for his service, and he described it as, "I myself was awarded my country's second lowest decoration, a Purple Heart for frostbite." That's what he said. So after the war, he went back to writing and started writing novels, tackling themes of free will, war, technology, and human folly. Some of his early works was a book called Player Piano, a dystopian novel critiquing automation and corporate culture. So that could be an interesting one down the track we could probably do.
What year did that come out?
1952.
That will be interesting.
Yeah, so it kind of invokes the same things that Serling did with
the Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone one, yeah. So that could be interesting.
And obviously, similar sort of background as well. Obviously, one was in the Pacific Theatre and whatnot, but interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Another one was called The Siren of Tyson, 1959. It says that's a science fiction satire exploring fate and meaning. So what I touched on earlier, he explores that a lot in Slaughterhouse-Five. And his big breakthrough was called Cat's Cradle in 1963. It's a darkly comic tale about a fictional substance, ice-9, and the absurdity of human priorities. So that was apparently the one that got him into the mainstream. But the one that really skyrocketed him was what we touched on earlier, Slaughterhouse-5. And that's the one, it blends his experiences with Dresden, time traveling, and became a corner touchstone for the Vietnam War and anti-war kind of sentiment. So 1969, you think that's one of the pivotal years of when the tide. 1968 was probably the big year when the changing of the tide happened.
I think 1968 was like the height of
the Tet Offensive happened.
Yeah, and it was. I think 1968 was like the apex. I think it was when the most troops were there. It was when the most deaths happened, all that sort of thing. It was like the apex of it.
I think 1969 too was the year when the My Lai massacre became known to the public as well. So you're thinking or anything that's anti-war, protesting. Yeah, so
it would be the political climate. Yeah,
exactly. So then he went on to keep on writing down the track. He wrote another one called Breakfast of Champions, Jailbird, and in 1997 his last book was Timequake, which is kind of like a semi-autobiographical novel about free will and repetition. So, but in his personal life, he was married. He had 3 children, and he often said that he struggled. He battled depression a lot, and then obviously, can you imagine? Yeah. So having to deal with not within the space of 6-7 months, or sorry, maybe about a year. His mum's suicide, being shipped to the Battle of the Bulge, getting captured by the Germans, surviving the train cut getting bombed by the British Air Force. And then also surviving the Dresden bombing and then cleaning up the mess as well as a prisoner of war.
He probably in the time he was getting shifted off to war, he probably had no time to process his mum's death, and he's just sort of that's going to come out later. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. No, you can understand why he had those kind of thoughts and feelings, right? So it's just But him as a person, he was a humanist and a skeptic as well. So he critiqued organized religion, but valued compassion and community. So he was a bit, you could see he didn't like certain aspects of theocracy and things like that, but then also saw the benefits of coming together as a community and helping each other out, that kind of thing. So
it's funny, in reading this, and just obviously in the context of the story we're going through today, of the I guess you wouldn't be able to pin him down where he is politically, would you? I guess you'd probably say more left leaning, but he'd have other ideals, wouldn't he? That would kind of bridge more center and stuff like that. But it's funny, as you were saying, in the reputation of this story that Harrison Bergeron, how it's one of the most misread politically, isn't it?
Yeah, this is very, very divisive. As in, like, where people's interpretations come down to it. Like, some people view it one way, some view it the other way. Where it could be something a bit of both, critiquing both things at the same time.
What do you interpret this one? What do you see it as?
Knowing him, I'd say it's a critique of like the hyper control of the the Red Scare and stuff like that. The way that conservatives were going hard at that time. That's what I kind of view it as. But then I think the main thing though is it's critiquing authoritarianism in a way, right? Isn't it? That's the main juxtaposition.
Yeah, and look, I must say I don't know Kurt Vonnegut as much as you do, and I haven't read Slaughterhouse 5, and I don't know him as well in depth as perhaps I should, and I do intend to after this. But from the outside, from my first reading of it, actually read it a couple of times, it does stick out to me as like that whole. There are elements of like a piss take of like how conservatives do see communism, right?
Yeah.
Like of how like that that whole thing of like, oh, everything's equal, like
Therefore this happens.
Where it's like obviously it's a little bit more like it is a little bit more nuanced than that, but that whole line, like I kind of see it as a piss take of that, like all the hyperbole in it and everything. But yeah, I say there are other themes. It does take you to some places, with the I think obviously the authoritarian control. It doesn't really matter where you go. I think with the titular character at the end taking power, and then it's like I guess it opens up to like, is he a hero or is he just corrupted by power? And how like all authoritarian systems or all, let's say communism for an example, like the whole ideal is like I suppose it's community and
on the surface it's
it's community, and it's what's the word, like it's abolishing class division, and it's all about community contribution and meaning and
coming together
but ultimately
but it doesn't factor in human nature.
Ultimately, like power we're corrupted by power, right? And we've seen that with the communist regimes. They're probably not true ideal communists, but it's usually one man in charge,
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, so I sort of see it as that. He's sort of, you can't really pin him down where he is in it, and that's really cool.
Yeah, I
love how open to interpretation it is.
Yeah, and I like to. He seems to be. We've talked about other authors, like Ursula Le Guin and stuff, where they're kind of like, these are my political beliefs. That's it. I'm not conservative. I'm not a liberal. It's just like, this is what I believe.
Yeah, I
won't
be typecast.
I don't be typecast. I don't be pigeonholed.
It's probably better.
Yeah. So unfortunately, old Kurt Vonnegut, he passed away in 2007. He fell down some stairs and got a brain injury, and then ended up dying a couple of weeks later from that. I mean, he lived to the age of 84, I believe, but still, it's a pretty sad way to go like that. Yeah, just an accident. Yeah, I remember that because I remember when I read the book in 2008, I think it was. I remember doing, when you first look up an author, you go to the Wikipedia page. I remember back then going back, I'm like, oh shit, he only just died recently. Now it's almost 20 years ago now. But yeah, I remember at the time thinking, oh shit, this is only pretty recent. He's actually because everything I've read before was always I guess I said before, Shakespeare or something. Yeah, some writer that it was Homer's Iliad or something. So when you're touching on his views as well, this is how he's quoted as saying he goes, the beliefs I have is to defend are so soft and complicated actually, and when vitiated, turn into bowls of undifferentiated mush. I'm a pacifist, I'm an anarchist, I'm a planetary citizen, and so on. So exactly what you said before, where you can't really. He's saying he's a pacifist, but then also got anarchist in him. He's just a very complicated guy in that way.
He speaks like he writes in that sense, and that real he writes in that simple, but it's almost fairy tale esque. The way whimsical, it's
But also too, it feels like it's multi-layered and coded or something. There's some kind of hidden meaning behind it or something. Yeah, it's just it is a bit interesting like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that will do enough on Kurt Vonnegut himself and his biography and things like that. I think we'll get into the topic at hand, which is the episode.
Before we do, maybe let's just go into a little bit of historical context. I know we've done the 60s probably to death over the last few weeks. We've touched on it before, but just obviously 1961, a pretty significant year. So this was actually the year the Berlin Wall went up. They started building it. So obviously the symbol of the Cold War, isn't it? The symbol of oppression and
Just before 1961, in 1960 was a very pivotal year because this was when John F. Kennedy was elected. He narrowly defeated Nixon, and why this is important too is because this was why this election is so memorable as well. It was the first televised presidential debate election. So the first time, this is when Kennedy used his charisma and his good looks and happy go nature to where he out charismaed Richard Nixon that way. So, and obviously in the tale we go into, there's television's a big part of it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why I thought it would be interesting.
Yeah.
And then there's also the Greensboro sit-ins. So in 1960, 4 African American college students refused to leave a segregated lunch counter in North Carolina. So this sparked massive waves of protests in the South and stuff like that. So, when we talk about civil rights movements, that's when it's starting to boil up. Also, one more incident in 1960. In 1960 was the U-2 incident. So, an American U-2 spy plane was shot down over Soviet Union in May of the year.
It was the one casualty of the Cold War, wasn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And the pilot was captured, and he was put on that show trial. And I believe he was the one that was traded for when that spy got captured. The Bridge of Spies movie, the one with Steven Spielberg directed,
Tom Hanks in it?
Tom Hanks.
I haven't seen it, but I intend to. I hear it's really good.
Abel, someone was a spy, the Soviet spy. But
Abel Archer?
Abel.
No, that's a military base.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, that pilot that got shot down, they was the one that they traded that other spy with. Yeah, at the bridge. Yeah,
I see.
He has a bargaining chip. So, but on to 1961.
Yeah, so 1961, obviously, the Berlin Wall goes up, so that's probably the symbol of the Cold War, the symbol of oppression, and the one that the West used to sort of to show the authoritarian nature of the Soviets, I guess. Bay of Pigs invasion, which kind of Kennedy, I suppose, inherited from Eisenhower, really, didn't he?
Oh, yeah. He got told by the generals and it's good to go. It's good as gold, this one.
It's a great story.
It's gonna work. Yeah, it's gonna be like Iwo Jima or something all over again. We'll plant the American flag and
easy. Yeah. Which spoiler alert, that was a fucking disaster. Yuri Gagarin actually won the space race. So they Russia, the Soviet Union got into space. As you touched on it, JFK was inaugurated in 1961. You actually had the Freedom Rides as well in so that was when we had interracial activists. They pretty much tested Supreme Court rulings that banned segregation in interstate travel. So they interracial groups rode buses into the Deep South. I think you touched on this the other week when they were attacked, arrested, beaten.
Oh yeah.
Forced federal enforcement, then ICC orders for desegregation. So rise of suburbia as well. So people had a lot of disposable income. They were moving out. They were buying new things. They were filling up their houses and stuff. I think TV was becoming mainstream. Now most people in the 60s started that. It was becoming a common household.
Yeah, was it the golden age of TV was through the 50s and then on into the 1960s as well.
Yeah, and I think the early 60s was really when it became common. It was common to have a TV in your household, and as you say, we sort of get into that.
What was it by? I think by the early 1960s. I think it was over 80% of households had a TV or something. Ridiculous. Yeah. So kind of a stable part of the household.
Yeah, they're about and you see in this story, there's little themes to it. It's actually quite prophetic with some of the stuff, particularly the attention span. But we'll get into that later.
Definitely. I guess culturally too. Apparently, this was the year when Motown records rose. So that genre, and then prominence artists like the Supremes and the Miracles. So this made a real landmark turning point in American popular music. So that kind of we're seeing a lot more black artists as well getting promoted and celebrated too, which is was a significant change to the culture.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, I guess the only other thing to do before we get into the crux of the story is tell the fans what we're drinking today, Matt.
Yeah, we're on the old Tiger, aren't we? The Tiger Lager.
How's it taste, Tiger?
Yeah. Where's this beer from? I've always had it, but never knew where.
Singapore, mate.
Singapore, okay, interesting. Yeah.
Out of all the Asian beers, I think this one's my favorite.
What about the old Sing Tao at the 2 o'clock at the Chinese restaurant? That always tastes pretty good.
Sing Tao. Oh, and I guess I am forgetting now. Bintang from Bali.
Yeah. You experiencing a bit of culture shock there, are you? No, it's actually not. It's not a bad drop. This one, it's nice.
It is. I do like. In all seriousness, this would be one of my favorites. And I don't know if it's because I feel like I've been talking about Vietnam a lot when I've been here. My Vietnam flashbacks.
Yeah.
War's hell.
Who's next to take a shower? Me! I am.
You just took one last one, silly.
Oh, where can I hide this big pipe?
these ones.
I swear you never talk about it again.
Just when I thought it was out, it drags me back in. There was obviously with the humidity level over there. I remember like.
So, that'd be nice actually.
There was a spot. So it's obviously a Singapore beer, but it tends to be the premium one when you're over there. And I just remember being in the bar over there, and they just take it was like you get a Tiger beer, and they take. There's a bit of like artistry to it as well, a bit of theatre.
Yeah.
Like they take the Tiger glasses out of the freezer, and they just look like rock ice, and they just pour it in. You're just like. Oh, it's just a bit of showmanship. I don't know. That sort of skews my love for it.
Would you say like as refreshing as VB then?
Well, yeah. Well, the best cold beer is Vic. Yeah, we all know this.
But you're saying this is better than Vic, so it's refreshing.
I think you're putting words in my mouth, but yeah.
No, as you're saying, I definitely could imagine this like one of those. With 90% humidity or something, and that ice cold beer comes like, it'd be so refreshing.
Yeah, having a couple of Macaulay cold ones on a hot day.
Yeah, conquering Mount Frothiosco, were you? Yeah, well, that's enough alcohol talk. But
all right, so just a brief summary of the story. So the story is set in a future America where the government enforces total equality by handicapping anyone with above average abilities. People wear physical weights, masks, or devices that interrupt their thoughts, so no one can be stronger, smarter, or more attractive than anyone else. George and Hazel Bergeron watch TV while their son Harrison, who is exceptionally gifted, has been jailed for rebelling against these laws. Harrison escapes, storms into a live broadcast, and declares himself emperor. He removes his handicaps, dances freely with a ballerina, who is also unshackled, and demonstrates human potential when unrestricted. The government responds immediately. An agent shoots and kills Harrison and the ballerina on live TV. George and Hazel, dulled by their handicaps and forgetfulness, cannot fully process what they've seen. Life goes back to normal.
Yeah, well, that's kind of a brief summary there, but like it's interesting. Like even though it's quite brief and a bit, you think on first glance, that's kind of like it's just another dystopian story, one of those short stories you see here and there. But once you read it, line by line, scene by scene, you see a little bit of the character development, a little bit of the seeds being planted, all this kind of stuff, and it eventuates at to its climax at the end there. So I love like even just the first couple of lines of it, where it's like when it starts, like the year was 2081 and everybody was finally equal. So at first you're kind of thinking, is this some kind of we've reached utopia, we're all happy and we're all gonna hold and hug hands and stuff like that. The way then he goes, he kind of like it's like stops it dead in its tracks and goes, they weren't only equal before God and law, they were equal every which way. Nobody was smarter than anyone else. Nobody was better looking. Nobody was stronger or quicker than anybody else. All this equality was due to the 211th, 212th, and 213th amendments to the Constitution. So it just shows you like they've meddled the American Constitution to the point where there's that many amendments that it's come to this conclusion where this society has been built where everything's equality. Instead of like you're not bringing people up, you're bringing people down. In this world, isn't it? So it's very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. And there's so many things going on here. We already mentioned that that ultra conservative view of communism is like, it just keeps everyone poor, and it's all about getting rid of that incentive, and we're all poor and everyone's down and downtrodden. But also like in the context of today, like when I read that, like what a way to start the story. What a way to introduce it. But it does make me sort of think of a world of that like extreme left, like the virtue signalers or that sort of stuff. That it's like this is like their dream. This is where it leads to. Like, do you understand this? This is where it goes. So everything that kind of, I guess that messiness of being human, and I guess naturally. Look. I'm not sitting here and saying there's not systemic injustice, because there absolutely is. We know this, but like we're not robots. You know what I mean? And we got to. And you've got to. We're at that point. We're sort of trying to pander to everyone and not offend anyone. And you call it what to do. And you could absolutely see. We see this sort of culture in Hollywood and stuff at the moment where you feel like writers first and foremost are trying to sort of let's tick all the boxes. Let's keep them happy. Let's keep them happy. Let's keep them happy. Or let's say something about this, and I never worry about the story. Like it to drop a South Park reference in it, kind of. When I first read this, it reminded me of that. What was that Christmas episode where everyone was like offended at Christmas? It was like I think it was one of in the first season.
Oh, it was in 97, 98 or something.
It's so ahead of its time, where everyone was offended, oh, we can't have that because that offends us. We can't have that and offends us. And they play that happy, 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 everybody's happy.
Yeah, they're all wearing that bland.
It's all grey
and stuff. Yeah,
and all the parents were, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Well, you didn't want this. Well, but the Christians didn't want that.
Yeah. It is like that, isn't it?
That's my first thought. South Park references keep popping in, but.
And now, South Park Elementary presents the happy, non-offensive, non-denominational Christmas play with music and lyrics by New York minimalist composer Philip Glass. As I turn and look into the sun, the rays burn my eyes.
Happy, happy, happy. Everybody
How like a turtle the sun looks.
What the hell is this?
But yeah, when you talk about that too, because you see, especially too with modern social media and people in their own echo chambers, and we'll touch on it later with the television reference here, where they're mindlessly consuming the TV and what's on, and poor old George has got that microphone in his ear because he's too intelligent that he has to be handicapped in that way, so he gets every 20-30 seconds he gets a buzzing noise or a gunshot goes off in his ear, or at one point he gets a 21 gun salute or something, and it scares the crap out of him.
It seems to be when he'll have a thought, and then it'll get he'll start to go a bit. He'll start to think a little bit more critically, even when it's kind of in agreement with the party and the regime. I think what does it say? I think she's It makes a point where that on that way, because he's got a. What
a radio earpiece, isn't it?
They say he's got a. What are they a?
I just imagine it's like an AirPod or something. Yeah.
Yeah. What do they say? What his intelligence was way above normal. He had a little mental handicap radio in his ear. Yeah, there we are. So obviously a little earpiece or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when he mentions, what does it say? The first time a buzzer sounded in George's head, his thoughts fled in panic like bandits from a burglar alarm. So
it's kind of like saying that anytime he was starting to think outside the box or kind of hint at something, it gets instantly his brain gets fried from the noises and the shouts, and it's reset again back to square one. Yeah,
I think it hits. No, it hits the apex when I think Hazel even mentions if I was the handicapper general, this is what I'd do, and he's and then I think she's saying you look tired. Why don't you take your handicap off? I won't say anything. He goes, oh well, look, if everyone did that, and then. If I did that, then it'd be okay for someone else to do it. Then everyone would do it. She's see what I mean? You can't start breaking these rules. And then I think it says a 21 gun salute or something. So even when he's in agreement with the party,
and that 21 gun salute's so loud, even she hears the buzz.
Yeah. And it knocks him. So he's even in agreement with the party, but it kind of shows how these sort of authoritarian regimes, it doesn't matter what you do, it's dangerous. Yeah. We don't want anyone thinking.
And he's been indoctrinated and brainwashed to the point where he goes along with it.
Yeah, and it kind of makes me think even when you're in alliance with some of these things as well, there's and that the irony, so even when agreeing with the regime, loyalty is kind of irrelevant. All that matters is conformity. There was something I think I was talking about. I was researching something along those lines. So Chairman Mao, or what do they saw Mao's 100 Flowers? There was an anti-writers campaign in 1956 to 57. Where he had invited intellectuals, professors, and writers. They were all invited to speak honestly about the problems of what they wanted to see change and stuff. They criticized corruption, censorship, and privilege, and they said this is how we want to see China and all that. And then he kind of reversed his policies, and these very people that spoke up became targets. You know what I mean? And the position, so they went from being celebrated to being the enemy. And it's that even that you're never really safe. It's that. I guess that loyalty was just irrelevant now, Yeah,
it can change on a dime.
Yeah, I mean, how many times do you see this with regimes?
It was that famous photo with Stalin when he raised Trotsky from it, when they're walking along the lake or the waterways or wherever it was. And same with Hitler when...
Never existed, brother.
He never was there, that photo. And then same with Hitler with the Night of Long Knives when he got rid of Rom.
Yeah,
just
political.
He used him. He was great for the rising of Hitler, but then once he was in power, he was too
used it as an opportunity to get rid of him. Yeah.
Well, he came to much of a threat to the regime then because he was such a headstrong guy. Oh no, you got no purpose anymore. Bye bye. Yeah, exactly. So at the end of the day, as you said, these, these authoritarian governments or regimes, it's always that one person leading the party, controlling things and changing things on a dime to suit their agenda, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like you're not here to think, mate. You're here to take orders. We don't want you thinking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you just toe the party line, and, and you put a smile on your face when you do it. But what I find interesting about that other quote you just said before with Hazel, when she said, "Oh, even I could become if I was the general, I could do this." It kind of shows that even in this society, that someone like her could be in control, and she's so handicapped to that point where she's not even thinking for herself. That kind of shows you how kind of scary that regime is as well.
Yeah,
where she thinks that it's so normalized what's going on, and it's such a great thing, and then she thinks that she could do it one day or something. Like, it's very very odd and bizarre, isn't it? Yeah,
it is. And did you ever listen to the audio on YouTube, or
where the guy does the girls and guys voice?
I have.
And
it paints her as like paints
a bit of a damsel in distress
dumb,
type.
a bit dumb, and like like look at that was a real pretty dance, that dance they just did, and
look at the pretty flowers or something.
Yeah.
That sounds like she's on one of those housewives on their bloody, was it the antidepressant pills or something? They're all they're zoinked out.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
I guess what it also does too, showcase, we go further on, but then we learn that the name of the short story, Harrison Bergeron, is it ended up being their son, and he was arrested for not towing the party line and stuff, like the anti-party kind of.
And then too smart, too athletic.
But he wasn't conforming. That was the main reason he got captured. So. And when it's described that it's their son, it's so nonchalant, and then they're not even referencing him at all. Like, it's like he doesn't exist. It just shows you how disconnected they are, where like even like family is not even really like, the party comes first, right? Or the regime's first. There's no loyalties to, to father, son, or whatever it is, it's and then he's kind of like kept away, and then we're showing a scene to where they're like kind of like mindless zombies watching TV, right? Where they're popped on with the ballet dance going on.
It talks about the ballerinas. Yeah,
this is when we get the next part.
Yeah. But it is, and this is where we talked about the the TVs coming in and being like a common household item. This must have been, this is certainly how I interpret it, how he's critiquing it. Like this parts in that scene when they're talking about what's the quote. George and Hazel couldn't think about it very hard. Hazel had a perfectly average intelligence, which meant she couldn't think about anything except in short bursts. And George, while his intelligence was way above normal, had a little mental handicap radio in his ear. So we've already spoken about George, but with Hazel, that was one that stuck out to me. She couldn't think about anything except in short bursts. You think about where we are, the TikTok generation and everything. It's just so prophetic. That was my first thought with it. We've already obviously. The way it's narrated, I assume it's talking about it from the point of view of the party. That obviously perfect. Her sort of perfectly average intelligence is celebrated. So she's a good conformist.
Oh yeah.
Good citizen, but
you can imagine her on the propaganda posters.
Yeah. And it's but you think of where we are now. I guess with TVs coming in and kind of we're at the. I guess we've outgrown them now, and it's all on our phones with the TikTok 3 or 4 second little videos, and that's kind of all we can take in now. And it's it's so everything's sort of so overwhelming, and I guess it's probably he was critiquing people becoming engrossed by
mass media, mass media,
and this becoming a thing that you could use to control the populace, I suppose.
Yeah, and you look at it through social media too, because initially when social media came out, it was a revolutionary, great thing. It's become, we thought, I can chat to my friends whenever I want. I'm always connected. I'll never lose touch. Because back before the internet, you finish high school, you never saw your friend that someone goes to university over here or over there, and then you just lose touch. And where now Facebook, it kept you in contact, and you were seeing what they were doing the whole time. And at first you think, that's a great thing, but then sometimes in the nature and the course of life, you're not meant to stay in touch with those people.
It's not supposed to be like
that. You're meant to go in different directions and explore and stuff.
We spoke about it before. Tribally, we're not meant to know what's going on outside of our general sphere of influence, are we? We're not really supposed to know what's going on the other side of the world.
Yeah, exactly. And
we can't take it in.
Well, the thing with social media too, because remember too, back then it was you had to go on to the computer, log on, and then go to it. So there was the level of entry. There was barriers there, right? Or also the two computers, many people had their laptops, I guess, but it still was remember it was the family computer, or it was this or that. Now, then it evolved into being in your hand, in your pocket all the time, and then now with with phone plans and 5Gs and all that kind of stuff, it's instant access. It's straight away. So it's so easy to just grab it and doom scroll or look whatever you want it up. And and we've seen now these algorithms feed us what we want to see, and it'll show us things that will outrage us and piss us off. And
but as long as it's getting engagement,
you're getting engagement. That's keeping our eyeballs on it. That's all that matters. So
it's no.
You know what they say? The path to hell is paved with good intentions. So
very
it's going
true.
down that track, isn't it? Yeah.
Very true, but it says a lot about human nature as well, and the path of least resistance and everything.
You also use that quote to describe, how they've amended the Constitution as well towards the 214th in the start of the story.
It was 213th.
213th. So you can say the same thing, like, oh no, we'll tweak it a little bit here so it helps people this way. Then there, then it comes.
We'll keep them happy. Well, that's upset them. So let's do that to keep them happy. Yeah.
Yeah. So then you think you're making one little change here, but then it has that butterfly effect down the track when it's comes this whole different beast and monster. Like we've said it 1,000 times on this podcast, but in the Patriot Act, you think, oh no, it's a good thing on the surface because it's trying to stop terrorism, so we can surveillance it. And now it's come to thing where the government's spying on everyone. You're like, oh, I didn't sign up for this. How did this happen?
Yeah, and it gets you into that thing of like that. Then perhaps that is the cost of freedom. Or you kind of have to safety. You kind of have to give up a little bit of your freedom from it. You cannot have both.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, we have kept going back to Demolition Man of recent episodes, and that seems to be the one that kind of shows that.
Yeah, it does.
You can't have it without risk.
Exactly.
You can't have freedom without a bit of risk.
Yeah, well, it kind of, and it also kills individuality, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Yes, and we all know as humans, we're not. You can't really box us into a corner all the time. We like to have our expression and our freedoms and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. It comes a bit like that.
That's it. And look, on the just going back to the social media thing as well, like we and maybe thinking of the story, it reminded me of something you said on a previous episode, like we were talking about how the party they don't want critical thinkers, they don't want people questioning the system, and you were talking about bloody China's 4D chess, with obviously TikTok being obviously coming from China, like dumbing all of us down, but their equivalent is like. It's all about like celebrating knowledge and achievements.
Become a doctor, become a lawyer, become an astronaut or something. Yeah.
Where all our attention spans are gone to shit.
Yeah, it's all about doing stupid dances and stupid dumb trends or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's as you said. Yeah, they definitely are playing 4D chess, aren't they? Yeah. Well, at this stage too, when they're watching the TV, this is the ballerinas are dancing, and this is when we learn too that not only are if people are strong and capable and stuff like that, they're also handicapped physically. Sorry, they're handicapped physically, not only mentally but physically too. So the good ballerina, if they're an exceptional dancer, they've got extra weights on them to hold them down. Then if they're exceptionally beautiful, they'll have the ugliest mask. So then everyone's on the level playing field.
There's something creepy about that when it spoke about like the ballerina and like it talks about like a hideous mask. And there was something creepy. If you listen to the one on YouTube when they're talking about when she had to change her voice, and that squawky sort of voice, it was something. I got a real unsettling picture in my mind. There was something about it.
Yeah, there's always something creepy about something like a masquerade or something. Someone's hiding their true identity, but then this is mandatory forced by the regime.
It's like that bloody. What's that Tom Cruise movie?
Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah, it's like that sort of unsettling shit at the end. You're like, oh, fucking yeah.
Yeah, but it's also too that. Because one dancer is exquisite and then the other one's like decent too, but then they're all doing this average shit dance all together to make sure that no one stands out and no one feels inadequate to it. Yeah, it's just very, very odd, isn't it? Isn't it? Society like that, yeah. Well, it's at this point too, we learn about Harrison as well, where he's like 7 foot tall. It's like kind of like told on the side, like he's 7 foot tall. It's exceptionally good looking, very athletic. Very intelligent, all this stuff, and he's like a kind of like a Frankenstein, isn't he, with all his handicap?
Well, it mentions and they've weighed him down with like metal sheets, and he's sort of like a robot or something.
He's like a junkyard. He's like a walking junkyard. Like a spare. Was it 300 pounds worth of equipment on him? Then also too, because he was so good looking, they had to put goggles,
red nose
on him, then goggles as well to impair his vision. Then also like he's got things going on constantly in his ears, and they shave his eyebrows as well, and all this kind of stuff. It's very, very demonic in a way, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it is.
Yeah. And then suddenly there's news breaks that I find this part interesting too. Is that they put on the news broadcaster, and he doesn't just go, "Oh, excuse me, breaking news, this has happened." He starts stuttering, and gets really struggles to get through it, and at the point where he kind of gives up, and then they end up giving it to one of the ballerinas to read out. That's when you talked about the squawked voice. But then Hazel goes, "Oh, good on him. At least he had a go. I really appreciate him having a good try. He deserves a pay rise for that."
Yeah.
And what's interesting, because people say that this is a critique of socialism and communism, whatever. If it was about that, why would that person get a pay rise in a communist society? It doesn't make sense, does it? That's why I kind of feel like he's taking a piss out of people thinking that it's communism in a way. Yeah. There's a little interesting part there. Yeah, then that's when suddenly protagonist breaks into the studio, and we're thinking, and it's interesting too, we're kind of thinking too, oh, he must be this mythical like Robin Hood character or some revolutionary here to save the day, but then he kind of like breaks into this stride and goes on about, I'm basically an emperor. I'm a god amongst you mere mortals. You should bow down to me and follow. And I'm gonna rid this world of the current system, kind of thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and it sparks of like when you think of revolution, or you think of revolutions throughout history, nothing ever changes for the bottom class. It changes at the top a little bit, but the working class are always it just goes on with them. It's just the same. And nothing changes for them, and that's where like I think it also speaks of like corruption with power and stuff, because I guess he kind of like, it's almost like the self coronation, isn't it? Like this sort of like an absolute monarchy that he. Yeah,
because then he goes to the others, to some of the violin players, I think it is, from the orchestra. It's like, you'll be my dukes and duchesses and stuff like that. So it's it's also too like saying, the system's not working for him. So he's going to change it to make it better for him, not make it better for the people or better overall society.
Or he's just going to seize power and perhaps with him being handicapped, but maybe it is a good thing. It's sort of, maybe he is a villain. Maybe
he's like a psychopath and you're containing his psychopathic tendencies or something. Yeah. But I think that's the main point I was trying to make, was that basically you're thinking that he's coming in there to save the day and rid these people from their shackles, but actually no, the only reason he's doing it is because it's affecting him personally, and he wants to change it to benefit himself. And become a god, basically.
And you see, it replaces one tyrant with another, basically.
Exactly.
Like, I suppose we haven't even introduced, and I think it's like the handicapper general, Diana Moon Glampers, I think she's mentioned in a sentence at the start, isn't she?
Yeah.
So she's the protagonist in this, and she represents the system, I guess, in the authoritarian state. So we mentioned her briefly, but we will mention her again soon. But it seems like he's replacing one tyrant with another. But all these, I guess it's almost like this, the way he orders the musicians to play music is like this sort of vanity-driven spectacle, and it's almost like you get a glimpse of his leadership style when he's like, he almost scolds them, doesn't he, when they started playing music and they've never really been broken free of their shackles of play, and he sort of, what does it mention, that he sort of picks one of them up and shakes him and like, no, play it like this. He's unhappy with the
He has to direct them exactly the way that he wants it being played.
Yeah. So these real like tyrannical tendencies. So I don't know. You can sort of see him as authoritarian rebel, which I don't. But like, but there is it does go to a flash of genuine freedom. When he frees the ballerina. What does he say? Like, the one that stands up gets to be my empress or my queen or something. And
a moment passed, and then the ballerina rose, swaying like a willow. Harrison plucked the metal handicap from her ears, snapped off her physical handicaps with marvelous delicacy. Last of all, he removed her mask. She was blindly beautiful.
Yeah, and it does go to this point of like, there is this flash of genuine freedom where
it's like, they've broken the shackles to say, and then there's
and it does it show? Could you argue like it shows human potential without weights and noise? This is where it starts to get really whimsical and it builds up and up and up. Like,
well, you kind of imagine they're ballroom dancing or something, and they're swaying back and forth. And it goes into they reel, they whirl, they swivered, they camped, they gambled, they spun, and then they leaped into the air, like into the deer.
So it's like they're floating or something.
Floating or something. Yeah, it goes into like some fairy tale kind of thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it sort of like builds up and up and up and up and up, and it's really getting all whimsical. And then I love that, like the coldness of Diana Moon Glampers' entrance. It's like, it was then Diana Moon Glampers, the handicapper general, came into the studio with a double-barreled 10-gauge shotgun. She fired twice, and the emperor and the empress were dead before they hit the floor. It's like, fuck. Like,
it's just cold-blooded. It's like, bang, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, nah, mate, the system wins.
Yeah. We won't have any martyrs. We won't have any bloody gone.
Yeah.
Nip it in the bud.
Yeah, it's and I reckon that that represents the brutality of the system we live in now.
Exactly. I think also to mention too, when Harrison does appear on the TV, George and Hazel back at home, they don't even recognise it's their son really, on the television.
Yeah, they I guess they notice it, but then I guess one of the things goes off and George is there. And,
Yeah, so when this all goes down, he goes to the kitchen and grabs a can of beer, and he comes back, and she's crying, Hazel, and she's saying, he goes, well, what are you upset about? And then she goes, oh, I can't remember. Something sad on TV. Anyway, on to the next thing. It was like that. It's like just so cold.
Well, there is they're actually on that. That's one thing that, you were talking about, you talk about like echo chambers and everything like that, and how people just wanting to, I guess, seal themselves away and not think about it. I think that's what you said. When they watch all this on TV, they watch their son die, but she doesn't remember what it is. What does he say? You've been crying, he said to Hazel. She said, yeah. What about? I forget, she said. Something real sad on television. What was it, he said? And she said, it's all kind of mixed up in my mind, said Hazel. And George said, forget sad things. And she's like, I always do. And you know how you get those people like, oh, I don't watch the news because it's all sad. And they just like, no, I don't watch it. And all I want to do is just surround myself in this bubble and everything's positive. And all I want to think is, oh, I don't take in the negativity. You know when you read those self-help books or they read, block out all the
negativity.
The negativity. You're like, yeah, that's fine, but that's not the real world. You're not, say, obviously, fuck it. I mean, I was a psychologist before, right? And one of the things that I got a little bit disillusioned with when they were going through a couple of things, and they're like, no, you've got to block out when it's negative. You don't think about the negativity. That's not happening. It doesn't happen. It's like, you want me to pretend that it's not happening? Is that's sort of what I was sort of getting a bit disillusioned with it. Like, is that the solution? Just pretend it's not fucking happening and pretend it's all okay. Like,
it's one of those things. Like, I understand when people say like, don't fester on negativity or negative thoughts or negative patterns, but then at the same time, like, it's also
you can't dismiss it.
You can't dismiss it as well. You got to factor it in as well. Like when you're assessing something. I understand the point of view. Like, you don't want to let it fester and let it control your life. But at the same time, you can't just completely be ignorant and 100% happy, positive, happy.
Yeah,
it doesn't work.
But I see that with like Hazel's character. And you see a lot of that in society. Like, oh no, I don't want to be reminded of.
I just want puppies and kittens and.
It's like you can do that, but you it's sort of back to the echo chamber thing, isn't it? You know, like you're just in a place where like, no, you're just reaffirming the positivity, and but that's actually quite dangerous.
Yeah. If I just follow the regime, follow the party, everything's happy, nothing, don't think about it, just get going along. Yeah, it is like that, isn't it? Yeah.
And that kind of stuck out to me. That's one little line. Forget sad things. Yeah.
No, that is. And then he goes on basically, that's my girl kind of thing. And then another gunshot goes off in his ear. And she's just going, oh, what was that sound? That sounded bad or something. It's like their son's just been murdered on live TV, and no one knows about it. They're not even aware of it, really, are they?
Well, yeah, and it's almost like a news cycle. Like I guess this like a 24-hour news cycle. They've just watched all this stuff on TV. It's happened. He's come into the room. It's been he's tried to overthrow the system. They've come in. The system's fought back, and then all right, we've forgotten about it. On to the next thing, kind of. Yeah. Just consume that, and it's just gone around and round. And
but he's back. I actually got thinking, just as you said, social media earlier before. Yeah, it is like that with that, those videos you watch and you doom scroll or whatever it is, and you'll watch something and then like 15 minutes later you're like, I don't even remember what I watched before. It's the same thing, isn't it? Yeah. You're just mindlessly consuming.
yeah. And this whole thing, the biggest thing that sticks out to me is this whole TikTok generation thing. They're just I guess George and Hazel sitting there consuming the TV and just forgot what they watched. Exactly. On to the next thing.
Yeah, no, it's funny these short stories, like even though like they're very brief and because they are brief, they can be quite blunt and but then also multi-layered as well with their bluntness. I find that with this one as well. Like when over the first quarter of it, you're reading it, you're going through, oh, where's this going? And then as you say, like it gets to that whimsical nature of it when they're floating on the ceiling and was it they're kissing on the roof or something like that. And out of nowhere, she just comes and shoots him, and then it's like. this never happened and back to normal again. Yeah, it was so blunt as well.
Banal. It's just
Yeah.
yeah. That was like, and was it all leading to that moment? You know, it was
Yeah.
like it felt like the whole story was leading to that moment, and then you just fuck.
Yeah, because when you first read, you don't see it going that direction at that point. You're thinking like, oh, maybe something's going to change or there, but then it was just like that. Yeah, you said that sudden bluntness of it all, and it's just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back to regular scheduling, programming again. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like perhaps that sort of amnesia thing is just the real weapon, isn't it? Like just that ability to forget and I don't think about it, you know? It's
Yeah, well, I guess like we think about what because this was obviously critiquing a bit of like Soviet Russian as well at the time, where no one talked about the Stalin's what he got up to and the people being sent to the gulags or family members gone. Everyone was had to put their head in the sand and just this is normal, nothing. Oh, they never existed. This kind of stuff.
yeah, that's where you could actually see it as a Soviet critique, couldn't you? Like
Yeah.
just forgetting his survival almost, isn't it? You start like Orwellian things, double think.
Exactly.
What do you need me to think? I'll think it. I know. I can't just pretend to think it. I'll think it.
Yeah,
That's
chocolate
survival.
rations are up this week. It is like that, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely goes to that territory. I guess we'll go into like a bit like why he wrote it and what some of the critiques are. So, as we established earlier, that this short story is very divisive. Where how people's interpretations of it was, as I said earlier, like some people view it as from a conservative point of view, where it's critiquing socialism and communism. Oh yeah, if you just make everyone equal and everyone's a loser, basically everyone's handicapped kind of stuff. Where others have said, oh no, it's actually a critique on how conservatives view what socialism and communism is. But then and it's funny because there is a clip of there's a guy at a panel with Kurt Vonnegut, and he asked him basically, oh, I read your book when I was a kid in high school, and I'm an adult now, and I've seen that there's a lot of dumbing down of the American curriculum and American society. Is this short story kind of a critique on that? And where it's done with the government and stuff, and he kind of said, "Oh no, this was basically I wrote this about a high school kind of setting, kind of like mentality." So he's kind of saying like, "Oh, you're in high school and you're a loser, and you're seeing what would it be like if I the high school quarterback who's 6'4" and good looking was handicapped and brought down to my level kind of thing." But I remember thinking, oh, that's quite interesting he said that, because, I mean, I can kind of see it from that point of view, but I don't know if I kind of agree with it. But then I've seen other people have said maybe he got so sick of everyone asking him what the story meant that he's just gone, oh, it means this now. I don't care. Like, when you write something back at a certain period of time and you kind of want to move on from it, like you get sick of everyone trying to bring it up all the time. So people speculate that could have been what it was, that he's kind of just gone, oh, it's about high school now. Yeah, kind of just like leave me alone kind of thing. Yeah.
You know what's funny? Like when I first read it, when it was my first thought was when Harrison Bergeron enters the TV studio and seizes power and everything, was like the nerd getting power. That was my first thing in my head, which I know is weird because he's built like a brick shithouse and he's like 7 foot, so he probably should be the quarterback.
Yeah.
But my first thought in the way he was ordering people around and doing things was the nerd getting power. You know how the one that's been bullied all that time seizes power and they become more brutal than I guess again replacing a tyrant with another tyrant sort of thing. Like that was, I don't know, interesting.
Yeah, I didn't think it would go down that path when I saw the clip. Like, oh, okay, that's kind of
Well, I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, that's trying.
Yeah,
that's trying to span the works of the research.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But then, as I said, like, some people didn't speculate that he just said that as a one-off kind of line, or like he got sick of people asking him about it. So, yeah, as we know, he's quite a complicated guy. So it could be all three things. That's what he does. I think he was just more critiquing the culture at the time and the things that were going around the world. I think one thing that's undeniable about it, and I touched on it earlier, I think the main thing he was critiquing was authoritarianism, right? So, authoritarian governments, authoritarian regimes, where they, disguise fairness and equality under the guise of, to enforce, oppression and control of the mass population. So that's what I think the main critique in the story is about. And also to exploring that, even though both extreme sides are ideologically completely opposites of each other, but they still got the same goal at the end, right? Which is power and control. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the main message behind it.
And it usually goes down to a single figure, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. And they kind of get that cult of personality kind of trait, don't they? I guess another aspect too, he was exploring how, like, I think we saw this too during COVID as well, like, human nature, how we adapt to whatever the setting is. When COVID hit, we got those restrictions and we kind of just accepted this was the new normal kind of thing. So I guess it shows to how society can kind of suddenly change and normalize something like injustice or something, or changes to the whatever the status quo was when you make little increment changes here and there.
Yeah.
So when we actually earlier the changes to the amendments and stuff. So, and how easily, like, within a generation or two, people all have known as that new system that becomes the new normal. Where the previous generations they can't remember the old times, but then now they've been forced not to think about the old times anymore, and then it never existed.
Yeah, well, I guess we what was that test you were talking about way back in the lottery episode as well, how with authority figures, and they tell us something right, it's kind of the path of least resistance, and we're kind of hardwired to conform or to sort of stick to the herd, like it's hard for us to step out of that. So we're really easily led in many ways.
Oh, absolutely. As you said, like the path of least resistance, like it's like sometimes you're like, oh, I can't. Just even though it's probably not technically the right thing to do, but like, it's just easy to do that. Just do it. Like, even though it may not be the right thing to do, but you're like, I can't be bothered to fight it.
Yeah.
Before we wrap this one up, we should probably go into, like, why this short story is relevant still in today's society than it's just relevant it was back in 1961. So I guess, like, one big thing is that it goes on into is about we have these debates about equality versus individuality a lot. So and we touched on earlier about with cancel culture and people virtue signaling and trying to cancel stuff here left, right, and center, and because you're oppressing this thing, and like it goes to that point at the line of where at what point do you censor someone or banish someone just to make someone else feel better, right? Like I said, that gets to that point where is it going to, like, you suppressing, like, people's freedom of expression to the point where, like, they've got no voice anymore? It kind of touches on that.
Yeah, and I think the whole forced equality thing, obviously it's literally forced equality in this world, but, like, these days, you feel like it's, I guess, might be somewhat controversial, but we've seen things in the US like affirmative action.
DEI,
DEI. We've seen, like, diversity quotas and stuff, and, like, it just, it all feels a little bit, like it's forced, but it's kind of against our very nature as well with certain things.
Yeah, I know that in America there's controversy recently with remember the fires that happened in LA?
Yeah.
And in LA County they were really pushing progressive DEI programs with firefighters, and pushing women into the role, people mixed race backgrounds, things like that. And some of the quotes that came out that were some people saying, oh, when a fire's breaking out, people wanted to see that people look like them are represented and things like that. But people were then saying, no, I think most people would want the most qualified person to say them when a fire breaks out. Like, you want the big buff 6'4" guy that can smash through all these walls and carry three people at once, something on their shoulders, as opposed to something like, it got to the point where, like, well, no, it's like, especially when it comes to something like safety as well, like that, when a fire breaks out, you want the best, most qualified, reasonable person. Same with, people flying planes and stuff like that. Yeah, just little things like that debate comes in. Then I find that then it goes to that extreme where he's like, oh, you're just finding a reason to pick, just to be a dickhead, like, to down, bully another sector of the population, as opposed to, like, making a valid point. You feel like, there's people that latch onto it and use that as an excuse to camouflage their discrimination in a way.
It's like, you're a racist, really, mate. Why don't you just say it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like that.
Stop using it.
Yeah. You feel like that gets a bit of that connotation to it. So.
Yeah. But like, look, you do see a lot of in today's society with that. Like, you do, half the time you don't know, like, are you doing that to tick a box, or do you really believe that? Like, like, and a lot of companies, a lot of places with these sort of, I guess, diversity quotas and stuff, it's like, well, the issue's systemic, right? Like, it's like you can't just put someone in a position and tick a box and job done. Look at it, it's all fixed. Like, well, no, it's not. It's systemic. Like, it's like the whole thing where, when we talk about Hollywood and everything as well. When it's like, we'll represent a few characters here, or we'll change us up there and do that. And it's like, oh, look at it, all good history, all erased. We've made up for the stuff we've done in the past. I mean, we've accused Disney of that before.
Yeah,
like, it's not. It's, I guess, it's lazy, I think. There's a lot of that. So there's a lot of that, and I think that's why this is quite relevant now.
Yeah, I think too. In the case of Hollywood, it feels like they're putting that as the first and foremost thing of like say a character as opposed to the actual character itself. So it's like, oh no, the most important feature of this character is that they're diverse and a minority or something. Not they're actually a good person, or they got really interesting backstory or character development.
It's lazy. It's and quite frankly a bit of a cop out. Yeah,
and the thing I don't like about it is that it makes me skeptical about when I'm watching something. So I'm thinking, is this here to tick a box, or is this character actually worth the time and effort to get involved with? There's more layers to them. And then what annoys me then sometimes, if I've got that cynical lens on, I might dismiss it when it is a good story. That's what it undermines the whole premise of having that character in there.
Yeah.
Then, that's what I don't like about it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I mean this feels like he was critiquing this over 60 years ago.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of it, why it still feels relevant. I think, in this world, using technology as a handicapping tool as well, we see the literal like mental handicaps. But I guess it seems similar to like how our attention spans are disrupted by constant notifications and algorithms. We've mentioned the TikTok generation a few times, but like social media and our phones and stuff, like as you were saying, do act like handicaps, don't they? Like they keep us distracted. They kind of limit our deep thought. They kind of enforce conformity in a certain way. But like I know myself, my attention span. I mean, my even like noticing the other day, like my spelling is like,
oh yeah, I know what you mean.
Because I've been so used to just
autocorrect.
I forget how to spell certain words these days, and I've got to think about it. I'm like, is that right? Like, it's noticeable.
Also, like grammar goes out the door too.
Yeah, grammar's. When I'm like, I'll just jot it down. I write it down there, and I autocorrect. I'm not thinking about what I'm.
Or you have like a stream of conscious thoughts, and you'll write it out, or what you think will sound good, and it sounds like it's just mumble jumble. Copy and paste into ChatGPT or whatever. Make that grammatically correct for me, and then just bang, done. Yeah, move on.
Yeah.
It's like what I found interesting too. I think Apple have released a new headset coming out soon, like the AirPod Pro something, and what it's going to do live. And at first I thought this was really cool, but then I thought about it recently. That's pretty freaky, actually. Is that if someone you got the AirPods in and someone's talking to another language, it'll automatically translate what they're talking into your earpods like real time.
Wow.
And that's like, play you're traveling overseas. That's really convenient. But what if it gets to the point where everyone's got that in and no one learns languages anymore, and then everyone's just in their own little echo chamber? Like everyone, there's no point of learning, Spanish or French or whatever down the track, and then it just everyone comes in their own little bubble of languages, and it's all done via, like, there's no more language barrier anymore. So we have this global thing, and then culture gets destroyed in a way. Like, I find that very creepy. Yeah, something about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, it even makes you think. You get to the point of like even language will go like, oh, fucking don't even bother talking. Like,
yeah. ChatGPT.
Here I am talking like a sucker.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's getting to that point, isn't it?
Hey, they got chairs with wheels, and here I am using my legs like a sucker.
I mean, dare I say it? Like, I guess this one of the things this does is like mediocrity as a cultural standard. I feel like we just touched on it there. With like me forgetting how to spell words and stuff, and like sometimes. Like in this in this world, we see it like, so I guess he's mocking the idea of bringing everyone down instead of lifting everyone up. Like we see, like there's this today with this lowest common denominator, like media, fucking clickbait culture, and I feel like I've said to you before, and I at work or something, and it feels like I branched out, tried to run my own business, and had to go there, and what was instantly noticeable to me. It wasn't hard to stand out. Everyone else was just good at pretending and talking the talk. But mediocrity is just almost accepted now in this age. Like, and I don't know if that comes from, how like technology was kind of brought in to, I guess, make our lives easier. All it's really done is kind of made the output more, but I think the quality of things is sort of being degraded with it. And but it's almost been accepted. Like, we touched on it. Like, I talked about the light bulb conspiracy. I talked about the throwaway culture. Like, it's almost just accepted now that things will break, or things don't have to be perfect Just, you know, like you don't have to worry about it. We'll just, it's almost like, just get it out. Just get something out there, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like, yeah, I think he sort of sees that here with these, I guess the, Hazel, when she's talking about the guy getting a raise, he's got the speech impediment, is reading. It's like, okay, he's got a speech impediment. Should he really be reading the news? You know, but it's like, oh, it's fine. Oh, he should get a raise. He tried, you know, like it's.
Yeah, the participation trophy.
Yeah.
No, interesting, because when you talked about then clickbait and stuff, it kind of you see the way journalism's gone, like say written journalism, where remember before it'd be, you obviously always had the headline and the byline, and an article would be, you get long ones or short ones, whatever it was. But now it just seems like the most important thing is the headline. That's what you got to grab, and then that lures you in, and the story could just be fucking rubbish or whatever it is. Like no one really cares. Yeah. It's all whatever the headline says.
Yeah, well, like journalistic questions and stuff. Even like the
even the art of writing's gone with that stuff.
The art of writing, and it seems to be like I'll be like even thinking about like football journalism and stuff, and it just seems to be like there's a few questions, but the questions are gone to shit. There'll be one or two questions that their editors made them put in for that clickbaity shit to grab the headline, and there's no depth to it. It's just like a I guess they're writing it for social media.
Yeah, and then also too, all the players, and they've all been media trained, and it's all sanitized, and they're just giving the corporate answers and stuff as well, and it becomes like just a big PR release, really, isn't it? Like it's nothing intriguing. It's very rare to get something intriguing without like some clickbait BS article. Remember the one you told me about a couple of years ago? It is pretty funny. It's like the Star or something, one of those papers in England. And it's like, oh, Messi spotted Liverpool, and he was just visiting. He was eating at a restaurant or something.
Yeah. I think Messi in Wigan or something. I don't know how they did it. It's like he's like, oh, for fuck.
And he just
I knew it was shit, but I clicked on it.
Yeah. You fell for the trap. He hooked you. It reeled you in. It's always that dumb shit like that. Like, oh,
Yeah.
Or the star player doing something, and then it's something. Like, oh, they'll just, they're walking down the street. Okay, cool.
Yeah, they'll cleverly drop something in. Yeah, like, oh, shock omission from this is like, oh, but it's not actually about my team. It's about, like, they linked it to he knows some guy on another team, and it happened to, like, oh, okay. I've just fucking wasted 5 minutes reading that.
And it's like, oh, this star player dropped from the team, and you think, oh, something bad. It's like, oh, no, he's just sitting out because his wife's about to give birth or something. Like, oh, okay. He's just like, you're thinking something like dramatics happened or something. Yeah. No, that's the way it is with the way it's gone these days, with our short attention spans, and yeah,
it's all about the headline. Fuck the content.
Yeah, exactly. As long as you click and get that, they get that ad read from all the ad banner pop up on your screen. That's all they care about.
That goes for our YouTube shorts as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I guess the main takeaway from the 3 white irreverent saying is that, and what the questions it asks is basically, how much should society enforce fairness? What's the cost of total equality? And how do we balance individual excellence with collective justice? I think that's a pretty fair summary of what questions the story asks. All those themes are equally distributed throughout the story, I'd say. Yeah. Well, before we wrap this one, anything else you want to add to it, or any other critiques or analysis you want to say?
No, that's that. What are we doing next week?
I believe we're doing a cartoon from the 1980s called When the Wind Blows. Is that correct?
When the Wind Blows, yeah. So 1986 it came out, and it is based on a graphic novel. So it is a cartoon for adults, but it's not the first time we've been to this area. In fact, it'll be the 3rd time with the
Groundhog's Day.
This is a different critique of Protect and Survive. Obviously, that the manual, duck and cover by the British government. The British government's response to a possible nuclear attack. So we've been there with Threads. We've been there with the war game. This is a very interesting take, and quite an often overlooked one. So it's about an older couple who sort of like follow the Protect and Survive guidance to the T's, and it is clever. It's quite sad. It explores selective nostalgia. It achieves a lot. So it's a very interesting one. Actually, really looking forward to watching this one again.
Yeah, cool. No, looking forward to go exploring it and stuff like that. So it should be good. And yeah, as always, guys, you can follow us on our socials at Dystopedia Pod, which is on Instagram and Tumblr. You can shoot us an email at info@dystopediapodcast.com. We're also on YouTube under Dystopedia Podcast. like, subscribe, comment, all those great things. And on behalf of myself and Andrew, we'll catch you next week.
See you next time.